Thank you all very much for coming. What we are experiencing is an unprecedented event. That is the huge amount of rain over a relatively short period of days, 2.5 days. We will have more rain during this period than it will exceed the record amount of rain for the month of October in the history of our city. And then this is occurring at the same time that three systems that have effectively produced much higher tides than normal, plus astronomically high tides. So we've got a convergence of these circumstances that are unprecedented. But the City of Charleston and our combined emergency management team prepares for these kinds of eventualities. It is the highest duty of a city to be in times of emergency available to assist our citizens, to keep them and to keep our city safe. Chief Mullen and his wonderful team of police and fire and public service and others have been preparing over the last several days because we knew that this kind of eventuality could possibly happen. This morning we want to brief you on where we are and the key messages which Chief Mullen will deliver, and I'll just reinforce as that we know when the high tides are. Today, 1:02, and so the tide is coming up, and as the rain is falling in unprecedented amounts, it's so important for people not to be out on the highways unless it's an emergency. And the Chief will go over the streets that are closed and areas that we're keeping people away. Our goal, of course, is for everyone to be safe and for no one to put themselves in any kind of a dangerous position that's unnecessary. This will eventually pass, but our goal right now is to get everybody through in a safe and in the most pleasant manner possible. So, Chief Mullen.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to reiterate what the Mayor first said, this is a very, very serious event. We have water in areas of the city that we do not normally see flooding. We have the peninsula is substantially underwater in various parts. We have parts of Team 3, which is Johns Island, that has substantial flooding, as well as some in the West Ashley area. So the first thing that I want to make very, very clear is this is a very serious event, and everyone in the area needs to take it that way. They need to take this seriously because there's a potential for very dangerous and life-threatening situations to occur. So as the Mayor said, if you do not have to frequent out into the area today, please stay at home. If you do have to go out, please be very careful because with the rain bands that we've been experiencing since about 4 o'clock this morning, flash flooding is very possible, and we've experienced that on a number of streets within the city. So we want to make sure that everybody is aware of that. What we also want to impress upon the individuals that may be trying to come downtown is we have the complete peninsula closed off at this point. And the reason for that is because while you might be able to get through a single street, once you get into the area, you may be cut off through streets that are flooded. We've had to go in and help individuals throughout the morning get out of those flooded areas. We have a lot of cars that have been flooded out that are now blocking some of the streets. So we want people to stay out of those flooded areas, and that's why we're not allowing people into the peninsula. We're allowing emergency employees, emergency services employees through, obviously, people in the media that show your credentials, we're allowing them through. But for the next few hours, that will remain in place. And we understand that that might be inconvenience for some people, but it's better to be inconvenienced than to be putting yourself in a life-threatening situation, and also requiring a first responder to go into that situation when it's not necessary and can be prevented by people using common sense to begin with. We have a number of resources, as the Mayor has indicated. We've been staffing our Emergency Operations Center in a partial mode up until 10 o'clock last night when it went into full activation, anticipating the rain bands and the high flooding. So we've been fully staffed since 10 o'clock last night. We've been using resources from all the city departments, including police, fire, public service, parks. Our GIS services are helping us map out the roads that we're obviously providing to the public so they can see that. And all of our city resources are here working on this situation. We're also working with our partners at other local agencies, because this is not just isolated to the city of Charleston. This flooding is happening all over the region, and therefore we're working it as a coordinated effort. We've also reached out to our partners at the state for additional resources that will be working with us. So at this time, we're not only utilizing the city resources, but all other resources that are available to us, and we'll continue to ask for additional resources as that becomes necessary or we feel like that we need them. Now, we have gotten some reports of flooding into people's homes. We've actually had to assist in terms of giving directions about where there are sheltering locations. So I want to give some specific instructions for that. If you're in a situation where you feel unsafe, or you feel like that your home is getting flooded to the point where you are in a safety situation, we want you to dial 911. We have resources that can operate in the water through boats and other vehicles, and we have swift water trained individuals available to go and do that. If you see water coming up to your house and you just want to voluntarily leave before it gets too deep, then you can go to any fire station as a temporary sheltering location. And we are establishing various locations for permanent sheltering. Right now, we have one shelter open, Red Cross, 1225 East Montague Street, that can be utilized as well. We anticipate that there will be additional shelters opening during the day and the evening for anybody who feels like that they need to go to a shelter. Now, we are at this particular point, we have lots of streets and lots of water in the city. However, in the next 2 hours, we are anticipating additional rain bands to come through the city, which will add substantial amounts of water at the exact same time as high tide, which we're anticipating approximately 1 o'clock. As you probably know through your research today, the estimate for the high tide is over 8 feet, which is about 2 feet above normal. So when you add the high tide and the extended rain and heavy rains that we'll be experiencing for the next 2 to 3 hours, again, this is a very dangerous situation, and we want to make sure that everyone stays safe. Please do not put yourself in a situation that you think you can drive through a small amount of water and then it becomes a flash flood and you're surrounded by several feet of water, which is a very dangerous situation. So please, if you do not have to be on the roadways, don't be on the roadways today. Help us and help the first responders that are out here to keep you safe by not creating additional situations for them to have to expose themselves to create rescues. The other thing that's important for you to know is that we've been coordinating all night long with the hospitals to make sure that there is no disruption to the patient services. We have EMS here with us. We've been coordinating with the hospital directly as well as DHEC. And if it gets to the point where it's impassable to get into the hospital district, we have plans in place that would start redirecting patients so that no patient care would be impacted. So we are we're doing everything that we can to make this a safe event. We know that there are certain things that we cannot control, and if there's any way possible that we can help individuals, we would like for them to call us. Now, if people would like to get sandbags, I have a number for you that you can call, and that's 724-7367. You can come and get sandbags. We're not delivering sandbags at this point because we're working to fill those bags. They're at the Milford Street location here in the city. And any citizen of the city of Charleston that would like to call and inquire about those, please call that number, and we'll do what we can to help you to facilitate that as much as possible. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I might just add one thing. I know that we've got people watching and listening that aren't in the peninsula and maybe in far more removed sections of this part of our state. And while the closer you get to the harbor, there is a tidal impact, which is bad news in that it's going to peak. That's more pressure pushing water in. The good news is that when tide starts to change, there should be some modest relief. But farther away from that, the different set of circumstances that can produce flash flooding is a huge amount of rain that is fallen, and little creek beds or ditches may continue to receive water with no real relief. So the point is, if you see water on a road or to drive through, if you think of walking through something, you should bear in mind that that could continue to go up. And that's what we want to do is help people get through these next 2 days with no one getting hurt and being safe. So this is a very serious situation, and a pool of water may appear to be quite benign, and you get into it and there could be serious untoward experiences. So we need everybody to be careful, and as the chief said, any concerns, any emergent needs or worries, call 911. That's what we're here for.
And just to clarify, you said you're not letting people onto the peninsula, that's correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so those sandbags are primarily meant for the people who live here on the peninsula, since they would have to come to Milford Street to pick them up.
Well, we also have some sandbags that are located off the peninsula, and if they call this number, they'll be able to get that information. But you're correct. We're not letting anybody come onto the peninsula to pick up sandbags, because if they came onto the peninsula, they would not get back off because of the depth of the water in various locations.
And I've seen a couple of cars stranded out in the middle. Do you have an idea of how many, a number of how many people you've helped rescue? Or
There are several dozen cars that are in locations right now that we can't even get tow trucks into to get them out. So we'll have to wait until the water recedes to go in and get those out. I can't give you a specific number. In terms of actually having to go into the water and help people out, that's been a very few number. We've certainly had some of those. And generally what it is, and I just want to make, obviously we want to give you the facts, but at the same time we don't want to embellish them. We've gotten some reports of, people making rescues into these cars. They're not like really rescues that you would think about in swiftwater rescue. We've just gone in there and assisted the people as they've come out because they were fearful. So, but we are prepared to do swiftwater rescues if we have to, because what we anticipate is as the tides come in, with all the water we have, and then when the tides start going out, you can create substantial suction specifically around the drains. And if there are people out just walking around or moving around, that could be very dangerous. As well as in the streets where the water is now, some of the manhole covers could have come up. So if somebody was walking, it would be a possibility of falling into those. That's why we're really, and I know some people are getting frustrated with the officers, so I would ask them to be patient with the officers because they're doing what we're doing for their safety. So when they tell them not to go into these areas, it's for their own safety, because we don't want somebody to be stranded and then end up in a drowning situation, nor do we want somebody to fall into one of these potential dangerous situations.
Where's the shelter again for those, not the fire station, but the permanent one?
It's at 1225 East Montague Street.
That's in North Charleston.
Yeah, the United Methodist Church. That's the one that the Red Cross is opening, and there will be others. I know initially that was opened, and there will be others that'll be opened in the various areas of the tri-county.
If people do become stranded in their cars and they don't know what to do, who do they call? I mean, do they get their car towed right away? Do they just try and get out safely? What should we do?
Well, if you get into a situation where water is up to the window of your car, what I would do is call 911 and I would ask for some assistance. And we have individuals that are stationed throughout various locations of the city in high water vehicles that are prepared to go and actually effect that type of assistance. So call 911. We'll come out and give you assistance. The best thing to do is if you see water, don't drive into it. That's the best advice I can give, because you can't tell the depth of the water and the way the streets are, and it may be really low at one point, and there may be a dip, and you may be into the...
This is a time not to be optimistic. If you see water, don't say, I'm sure I can get through that. Rather, you know, I better not, this could be trouble.
And we've seen a lot of speeding today, people running red lights, they think, oh, no one's around, we're running red lights, and then we've seen potentially dangerous situations happen, but all of the same rules are applicable even in these weather conditions.
Absolutely, and you know, we've got extra officers out on the street. Obviously, they're not out there today to enforce traffic, and what we would hope that people would have common sense and that they would assist us. This is one of these situations. There are certain times in a community where everybody needs to come together and work together to assist each other to get through a bad situation, and this is one of those times. So, you know, it disappoints me to hear that people are out doing those kinds of things. I would certainly ask them to assist us, because the last thing I need today is for my officers to be pulled away from this serious weather situation to address something that happened because somebody was not being a very prudent person. Yes,
Chief, I know you mentioned that the shelter's going to be in North Charleston. What should people be allowed to, what should they know to bring to the shelter? I know a lot of people have small children, they want to bring gadgets and stuff, and sometimes even pets. What will be allowed inside the shelter?
Well, in this particular shelter, obviously, we want you to bring, you know, if you have children, you can certainly bring, you know, blankets and toys and those kinds of things. Obviously, we're hoping that you will be there for a very short period of time, and the Red Cross will have some cots and food and those types of things. But clearly, bring some additional clothing, maybe for a change of clothing. You might want to bring some snacks with you. Certainly, if you have children, you want to bring some games so that they would have something to do. It's not my understanding at this particular point that this would be a pet shelter, but I would have to check with the Red Cross to verify that. Anything else? Well, thank you for being here. We'll keep you updated throughout the day. Obviously, our PIO folks are going to be tweeting out information as it goes along. And if you have any questions, what we would ask you to do, if you get something that you want to report on, call us, ask us, we'll verify it, because the worst thing that we want to happen right now is for misinformation to get out.
And we, y'all can go into our command center and see the group working. I think it's interesting, and you get a picture of the wonderful team and multiple resources we have working on this.
And if you want to just take some pictures of these maps, these are all the specific roads that are closed throughout the city. I didn't know if this might be of interest to you. And then when we go into the MEOC, you'll actually see it up on a smart board, so I didn't know what would be best for you. Okay?
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.